Welcome guys, this is my first video on this channel. It's just the first video, literally. But before we get in serious stuff, serious videos, I need you to know something. I think this is the most important thing you will need to know on my channel. Well, not most important thing, but you will need to understand what it is. And we are going to talk about fourth dimension. Are you ready to be taught? Are you ready to be changed? Then you know what needs to be done. Follow the crow. Okay, so I'm going to start explaining the fourth dimension this way. So, if we need to get somehow to the fourth dimension, but a disclaimer, we as humans cannot possibly cannot visualize the fourth dimension. It's not possible. Because we, as humans, live in three-dimensional world. There maybe are some higher entities that can't see the fourth dimension. But we cannot visualize it, we cannot possibly visualize it. But we can't understand the fourth dimension, we can't. So, but we have to get to the fourth dimension somehow. So, we have to start from somewhere. And our starting point is going to be just a point. So, you have just one point, no length, no width, nothing. No length, no width, no height, nothing, just an empty point. It's just a point, and it's called zero dimension, because it has nothing. It doesn't have any measures, anything that we can measure it with. So, now, when you have a zero dimension, and you add another zero dimension, so now you have two dots. Now you have two zero dimensions. What you can do with them is you can connect them with one straight line, right? So, now this straight line has what? This straight line has width. So this is called the first dimension. The organism that lives right here is just width. It lives just on width. It has nothing else. But now, what would happen if we take one first dimension, which is made of two dots, which has just width, and we take another first dimension, which has just width. So now you have one dimensions. What you can't do with them, of course, as for the first dimension, you can connect two first dimensions. When you connect them, now you have width and height. So now the organism that lives in two-dimensional world just is walking, let's call it walking, on width, on height. It doesn't have any length. So now we need to get to that length. Now we need to get to the three-dimensional world somehow. Of course, you guessed right. We need two dimensions. So now you have two squares. Because when we connect the one dimensions, you basically just got an empty plane or a square. Just an empty plane. Now you need those exactly the same planes, two dimensions, and of course what you're going to do with them is connect them. Just connect them line by line, edge by edge, corner by corner. Now what you got is a cube. It is a three-dimensional cube. It is a cube. It's three-dimensional cube in which we live in. Basically, this is the three dimensions we live in this world of 3 dimensions. Now, you have 3 dimensions, and which has width, length, and height. Width, height, length. So now we can show that width, height, and length by this x, epsilon, z. Fuck, I forgot the word. We can represent those by x, epsilon, z coordinates. So the x is width, the epsilon is length, no, the z is length, and the epsilon is height. So now you have those. That's just how we can visualize the 3-dimensional world, how I can tell you how to represent it. So x, epsilon, z coordinates. Now, how are we going to get possibly to a 4-dimension? Of course, we have to connect 2 cubes. But that still looks like a 3 dimensions. But let's do it anyways. When you connect corners of 2 cubes, of 3 dimensions, what you've got is one really weird looking object. But we can transform it so one cube is in other cube or anyhow, but this is the original one. How it would look when we connect it. Now, what is this 4th measure? It cannot be length, it cannot be height or width. What can we add? There is nothing possible that we can add to this one. We have just 3 spaceless measures, width, length, and height. What do we have to add now, the next? Well, it has to possibly be a time. Well, I know this is extremely hard to visualize right now, to have time as a measure. Well, as a dimension in dimensional world, time just sounds weird. It sounds really, really weird. But let's get to beginning. So we have a 0 dimension, a dot. So how did we make a line? We connect 2 0 dimensions. How did we get 2 dimensions? We connected to 1 dimensions, 2 lines. So now we had width and length. Well, yeah, width and height, in fact. Then how did we get a 3 dimensions? We connected the 2 planes, which were like the now we got a length as well. And now when we connected the 2 cubes to 3-dimensional worlds, now we get a 4th dimension, which is time. The 4th measure is a time, in fact. But this really sounds weird, because if we live in 4-dimensional world, if we would live in 4-dimensional world, what would be possible, in fact, is time traveling. Actually, not really time traveling, but we could see to the past and to the present and to the future. If I have, I know, a great example is, if I have a door closed, I have a closed door, okay? Now, if I open a bit, now I have a bit open door, and if I open them totally, now I have totally open door, right? Now, this is just a 3-dimensional world still. But if we would live in 4-dimensional world, what we could basically see is us, we could see, not us, we could see the door opened, closed and wide open at the same time, in fact. That would look like one moment, right? So it sounds really extreme. Possibly we cannot visualize it, but how is this connected with 2 cubes? So imagine that 1 cube is a, I know, in 1 cube there is a, I know, really, it's like a movie, if you know, it's like a movie. So in 1 frame you have a closed door, and in another frame you have the wide open door. So these are our 2 cubes, and when they are connected, you can see them closed and wide open at the same time. So this is what is really amazing about it. 4 dimension is a time travel. And now if we wanna get in 5 dimensions, 6 dimensions, 7 dimensions, 11 dimensions, we have to just keep connecting the dots. I don't say the dots, okay, but yeah. So we live in 3-dimensional world, but if we could live in 4-dimensional world, we could see, basically we could literally just see doors closed and doors open at the same time. So we could see in present, future, and past. So it's literally just awesome and so hard to visualize. It's really hard to visualize it. It's 4 dimensions are so hard to visualize it. But we can understand it. If we could explain the 2-dimensional world, the 3-dimensional world to a 2-dimensional organism, that would be like, what the fuck, they couldn't visualize it. If you had those same door, how a 2-dimensional creature would see it, they would see just a square, right? They would see just just a square, nothing else. So that would be it for today's video, and follow the crow.